I gave you Mighty Hole Creek in Texas and you died. Well, I said he's gonna send my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn. Oh, get those stakes up higher. There's 1,000 pretty women. If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place. If you're looking for trouble, just look right in my face. I was born standing up and talking back. My daddy was a green-eyed man and Derek.
Well, if you've never had a chance to see Elvis, the closest you can come to it will be at the Sahara in Las Vegas with Trent Carlini.
How are you? Good morning.
Welcome. What is it about Elvis Presley? Now, he would have been, what, 72 this month?
Yeah.
Right? And how, what year did he die?
I was 1977 on August 16th.
Right. So it's almost been almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. What is it about him that gets people 30 years later so excited about him?
I think that he just all around was an amazing individual, a character that just wasn't common at the time, and his music really was beautiful music, and that's something people, cherish and keep, there's a lot of nostalgia about Elvis, really fantastic individual, it's been amazing just studying his career, obviously to perform his music. I try to read in the fine lines of his performances, and he really had a magic about him that you just can't really say what it is.
How long have you been doing Elvis songs?
Professionally here in Las Vegas since 1990, but a few years before that when I started, playing with a couple of rockabilly bands back in Chicago.
Did you ever get to see him or meet him?
Never. Actually, I blew it one time. My dad was going to take us to see him, and I think I came home late that day, and he grounded me, and we were going to go to Jacksonville, Florida to see him. And I never got to see him, so this is how I'm getting back at him.
Getting back at Elvis or your dad?
No, my dad.
I saw him in the 70s at the Hilton Hotel, and for a number of years you were performing at the Hilton doing Elvis. That must have been exciting.
Yeah, we did 4 years there, and it was really strange because the expectation was incredible. I mean, when you hit the stage, being that it was his stage, and getting ready in his dressing room was eerie. It was spooky.
And now you're at the Sahara.
Yes.
And the Sahara also has a great history. It's a wonderful showroom.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess they've remodeled it and made it, perfect for the show, and it's great. It's really great.
So, how did you decide what to do in your Sahara act?
Well, our producers, Joey Battig and Ennis Jordan, really are the people running that show. It's just based on their idea and their theory. The theme of the show is a musical history of the King, and their ideas are to highlight truly the most important parts of Elvis's career, and so that's what we do. It's about 7 or 8 costume changes that I go through, and it's really nice. A lot of songs, Yeah.
What part of Elvis's career is your favorite?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. All of them. I can't. I find a beauty in each segment that I'm totally in love with.
What was it about Elvis's death that was so fascinating to people? Was it somewhat uncertain, or it's just kind of like? Is it established that he overdosed on prescription drugs?
Yeah, I think just the period he was living in was a very hard period. It was the 70s, as far as I can remember, was a time where there was a pill for everything.
Right.
You know, no, everything was, I think the microwave was coming out, and you could have a pill for, hey, I need this. Yeah, have a pill. You know, there was a pill for everything, and that really wasn't the solution. And I think that it was very easy for him to obtain, you know, what he needed. And you know, I think that would do it to anybody. You know, and it's a shame because he was only 42 when he passed away, and he was just a baby. You know, it's that should have never happened.
Yeah, was he unhappy at that time of his life? I mean, I know that you know, there's a lot of people in his life at that time that you have, Joe Esposito, and there's people like that, and that knew him, that you work with.
Well, from the stories, you know, that they've shared with me, and I think that he was unhappy. He was. I think that he had reached the peak in his career, and he wanted to go beyond that. He needed a new challenge. Elvis was a tiger. I mean, the man was just insane, and he needed challenge. And the minute he didn't have challenge, he was gone. You know, it's a shame.
What was it about him that got you interested when you were younger? I mean, you started, I assume, playing guitar at a relatively young age. Were you doing what, basic rock and roll at that time? And Elvis obviously is part of that.
I think the women he had, I thought it was fascinating. You know, just, you know, when you saw an entertainer, you could see, you know, Ray Charles, and you see the crowd, but when you saw Elvis, you saw people screaming. I mean, it was just, wow. You know, how can a human being do that? You know, I want to be just like that. You know, I wanted to do that. And then even more on a personal side, I think because my mother loved Elvis so much. And I remember when I was about 5 years old, she had an Elvis album, and she used to play it all the time in the house, and I used to listen to it, you know. So I think that that is kind of what put me in that direction. And even musically, when I grew up in Europe, I started to become musical. I did other music, you know. I mean, I wasn't trying to portray Elvis's career, but I think when he passed away, the time I was doing rockabilly music, and somebody got a video of what I was doing out to Vegas, and I got called for an audition, and I got hired. So that's how I really went into doing Elvis. It was really never a plan to, you know, say, hey, I'm going to do this. You know, I wanted to be Elvis when I was a kid, but
every guy you did, right? Yeah.
If you're a woman, you wanted to be with him. If you're a guy, you wanted to be.
You like him.
You know? Yeah. So absolutely.
So you were born in the States, grew up here, then moved to Europe. And was Elvis big in Europe?
Huge.
Huge, huh?
Huge.
I mean, he was a big influence on groups like the Beatles. I mean, they've always said that. Yeah.
Yes. A lot of Italian artists like Bobby Solo, Little Tony, and you know, a bunch of other people, greatly influenced by Elvis. I mean, amazing, really, really amazing. How big.
And what was it that Elvis did that was so different at that time in the 50s and 60s?
Well, just an example is, I think it was 1959, not sure of the year though, but you had on NBC Elvis Presley singing Baby Let's Play House, okay? Then on ABC, you had Perry Como singing Skippity Doo-Dah. You know,
one was a little bit edgier.
And then on the other side you had, well, you may go to college. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It was nothing ever seen. You know, the guy was just, to people weird, to other people a genius.
Yeah, it's just so much different than what the music was at the time.
Yeah, it was just break loose and go. You know?
And also the way he performed it was much different.
Yeah, sexy. He was, you know, slicked hair with grease, you know, and everything, and just these crazy clothes, and you know, it was just at the time, I think, very wild. Scared a lot of people. You know, I mean, when they were breaking records on the air, you can't play this stuff in our town. No more rock and roll.
Right.
Preachers were preaching the beat, the beat, the beat. You know, an influence on juvenile delinquency and all
Right.
that. When it was just freeing the soul, the spirit. He was just doing what he felt.
Well, it's no different than today, right? And
No
people are still
difference in
saying the
today,
same
yeah.
thing about hip hop music,
Yeah.
rap music, right?
I mean, when you're set in your generation in your music, and then you see something new come out that's entirely crazy, you're like, ugh, and that's kind of how it was then.
Mm-hmm. Are there Elvis songs that are easier to sing than others?
Yes.
What would be like? What would be an easy Elvis song to sing?
An easy Elvis song would be a song, like "Don't Be Cruel," "Teddy Bear."
Mm-hmm.
Don't. Hard songs are the songs when he started getting into the orchestration, where his voice really developed, and he started to start hitting tenor notes and that kind of stuff. Songs became more challenging,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
And what would be an example of that genre?
If I Can Dream,
Uh-huh.
and a very challenging song to sing night after night. And then when you tag on songs like My Way and other power ballads like that,
Mm-hmm.
those are challenging songs.
Okay. We'll be right back after this word with Trent Carlini, the Dream King.
There must be lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in the skies more blue. If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why. On sea, easy rider. You touch my hand and I'm a king. Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising. Higher and higher, it's burning through to my soul.
One Night with You is a very beautiful song.
And that's, that when people think of Elvis, it's that white outfit, the guitar above his head that, people, I think, is the most visual memory that people have.
Yeah, it is. And one of the amazing experience was on the ending of Burning Love, where there's this whole drum thing, and you do this whole thing down there, and you take the guitar and you, bam, throw it up in the air.
Right.
And one night I hear everyone go, whoa! And I go, what happened? What'd I do? And I looked up and the guitar flew out of my hand. And 2 seconds later, came crashing down. But the jumpsuit, I think, is Elvis's trademark.
Yeah.
An outfit that nobody had.
So are there like original jumpsuits that are around in a museum somewhere? Isn't it? There are various Elvis museums, and I guess they're planning a new one here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I believe from what I've heard, Robert Silliman purchased the rights to the Elvis around the museum,
right.
And they're moving their shop to Hawaii, and they're going to open something there. They're going to open it. But Bill Mack, a good friend of mine, an artist, designer, purchased the King of Spades, the black suit that Elvis had. He brought it to the show and he let me try it on. It was pretty cool.
And I guess it depends on what stage of Elvis's life he wore it and whether or not it fit you.
Well, it fit perfect, like a glove. It just I have really long arms, and the sleeves were kind of short. But you don't know if it's just weather worn or what, because his suits were made out of double knit wool, and they didn't expand or anything like that. The suits I have are, or his was gabardine. Mine are double knit polyester, so they can stretch, so you can do the
Right.
karate stuff and everything like that.
And how do you do the heavier, older Elvis?
Oh, it's easy. Inflatable suits. Just click a button and no, I'm just kidding, man. We don't do that. We always want to emphasize the highlights of his careers, not the downfalls.
So which songs do you do of Elvis in the show?
Well, in the 50s, we do a bunch of songs from the 50s, like Blue Suede Shoes, I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, Don't Be Cruel, Ready Teddy, Shake, Rattle and Roll. Then we do movie songs, Can't Help Falling in Love, It's Now or Never, Viva Las Vegas, GI Blues, Return to Sender, Love Me Tender. And the 68 comeback, we do a medley of his songs. You know, we do a lot of R&B-ish songs that he did, and of course, If I Can Dream. And then in the 70s era, we do songs like CC Rider, Suspicious Minds, My Way, The Wonder of You. It changes, really, you know. Well, we have about 460 songs to pick from, so, you know, it changes.
What was his best-selling song?
I think his best-selling song had to be Don't Be Cruel. Yeah. And Jailhouse Rock. But you see, Elvis was the first artist to ever do musical videos in his movies, and Hollywood wanted that. Nobody realized that was truly the first MTV.
Right.
You know, no one really had that. And when Elvis came out with the movie, it wasn't the movie, it was the album and the videos to go behind it. Just genius.
Right, because the movie sales lifted the music sales and vice versa.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
then the merchandising, it was a monster machine.
And the merchandising today is probably greater than what it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, that's what's astounding to me. And he's so synonymous with Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that was actually, you know, he was just a little bit older in his career, wasn't it?
Yeah, 69 when he came in. The Hilton, yeah, he started in, I think it was 68, or the end of 68, 69, and then 70. It was wonderful. Around 73, I think, is when he started losing his interest in what he was doing. But for those years, it was incredible, you know. And that to also, here's another thing that Elvis did that nobody did at the time, was in 73 he went worldwide via satellite, which no entertainer had ever done. So a lot of things that he did, he was the first to do them, and I think is what really projected him as the icon that he was.
And it looks like the future of Elvis and all the peripheral issues that involve him is probably brighter than even what the past has been. We talked about the museums. There's also an Elvis Cirque du Soleil that they're working on. Las Vegas, it looks like, will become the center of the Elvis world, right? Graceland will be here in Las Vegas, essentially. But if we have a museum and a Cirque du Soleil, and maybe even theme resort hotel.
And Trent Carlini.
And Trent Carlini at the Sahara.
Yes, absolutely. I believe so. In the media that we have today, the capability, I mean, Elvis has grown richer after he passed away than while he was living. Greatly. He's sold more albums, more records, more movies, more merchandising because of the network that's around today. I mean, people at one point couldn't purchase anything from Elvis unless they came to where Elvis was. Nowadays, you can live in Africa, in the farthest corner of it, and click on a button and you can purchase the new Become an Elvis Insider.
Right.
You know, it's amazing. It really is.
How about his daughter? Have you ever met his daughter or his ex-wife? Or,
no, never met them.
They never pop in, see the show? Or?
That I know of, no.
No?
I've met Priscilla's sister, Michelle. And, you know, people like Jerry Schilling, Al Dvorin, the Jordanaires, J.D. Sumner and the Stamps when J.D. was alive. A lot of people, but I've never personally met Priscilla or Ismael.
And there's a whole world of Elvis impersonators, and they have international contests, which you've won in the past, right?
The two that I've been in, I've won, yes.
Yeah, and I was over at the Palm restaurant this 2 nights ago, and there was a man in an Elvis suit coming up to me who was, walking around greeting people there. He worked there, I think.
Oh my God! Yeah, well, hey, there's all different levels of there's good and bad. There's all sorts of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Flying Elvis. Elvis never jumped out of an airplane in a jumpsuit, but it's a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, it's sought after by a lot of people.
Did he ever have any kind of background in dancing, or he take lessons after he started performing?
I don't think that I know of that he's ever taken a lesson other than karate.
Uh-huh.
Really, he was just what he did naturally, just spontaneous at what he did, and good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
And how about when you're like transitioning in and out of the Elvis character? Is that difficult for you at times?
No, it's easy for me. Right now, the technology is what worries me. The whole sound. I hear music now with ear sets, so I don't have monitors anymore, and that's probably what's really weird for me, because now wherever I go I hear the sound perfect, when before, when you had the conventional monitors, sound fluctuated. But getting into character, the looks that we have in our show is the people that do our hair, the sideburns and the clothing. When you get in it, it just automatically takes you there. I think the costume helps you get into the character.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have dancers on the show. You have background singers. You have
we don't have
music?
dancers in the show. We have dancers, our singers dance
okay.
and sing, and we have horns. We have a 6-piece rhythm section, and magnificent band, magnificent. Just a couple of the guys that are on the show. Kevin Curry, our guitar player, is an incredible songwriter, incredible player, and I was very demanding when I auditioned these guys, because I needed somebody that was so versatile, that could play all of the Elvis music but had their own flavor. And Tracy on bass, Bill Winans on drums, Bob Ashman is our conductor, and Mike Dow is our piano player. Incredible. They are my Mohammedans. They truly are. They've been behind me through everything.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Elvis had his key people as well, some of which I think you've worked with over the years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first met DJ Fontana, who was Elvis's original drummer from the 50s, he actually lived with me for 3 months as we toured all the festivals in Chicago. And he's the funniest guy ever. He would just, sit in front of the TV with a Michelob, and I go, DJ, what's up? He's just drinking a Michelob, and watching TV. Yeah. But it's truly an honor to play with him. I don't know if I've ever really told him, or if he ever really understood what I was telling him. DJ, can't tell you what a privilege it is for me to play with you. And DJ Fontana also came with the Jordanaires, and Scotty Moore I've never met, but it was great experience.
And your show at Sahara is at what time?
9 o'clock every night, dark on Sundays.
Okay.
And it's just a really exciting show. I really love what Joey Baddick did with the show. He's really.
One last question. How do you visualize Elvis had he been alive today at 72? What would he be doing?
Drugs or no drugs?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think that Elvis wasn't meant to grow old. Or Elvis was a tiger. Tigers die fighting, and that's what he did. So I can't even visualize him, you know, other than what he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is probably adds to the intrigue of Elvis Presley.
exactly.
Well, you can't see Elvis, but you can certainly see Trent Carlini at the Sahara Hotel every night but Sunday. We're going to take you out with some Elvis, I think, or some Trent. Right? I don't know who's who is anymore.
The Dream King.
Somewhere got to be birds flying higher in the skies more blue. If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why. Oh, see, easy rider. You touch my hand and I'm a king.